Hey there, beautiful souls. So grateful to have you guys tuning in for today's message. And today's one, I want to give you a whole new take on things. So stay tuned for today's message. And I'd love to hear from you just as I'm doing a couple of quick shares. I would love to hear from you guys in regards to whether or not you are currently feeling like you've kind of lost some of your fire, right? Lost some of that fuel. Maybe you're not feeling very motivated or inspired. I want to hear from you, and this message is definitely going to be for you if you are currently in a state of losing your fire, really lacking that motivation, really lacking that inspiration, or maybe you have experienced this in the past and just not really known the answer as to why that's happened. And basically, so, next time it comes around, you might not be any better off, right? If you're not aware of what the conscious drives are behind when we lose that fire, when we lose that fuel. And today's message, this has been revolutionary for me to get into my own life and my own perspective. And it's so empowering that I really want to share it with you guys. So it's going to be a whole new way of looking at building our awareness around why we lose our fire, why we lose our drive, and to not just kind of, fall into a heap and just think we're terrible human beings and we can't stick to what we started, or why can't we feel more inspired and kind of judge and criticize ourselves. Instead of doing that, I got a better strategy, and that better strategy is going to come from a much more empowered perspective that I'm hoping my message today actually really instills within you very, very deeply. And basically, you are going to now, after today's message, going to be able to look at those times in your life where you do lose the flame, right? You do lose the fire, and it might actually alert you to something incredibly empowering and incredibly validating on your growth journey, particularly for those of you who are massively into your growth, right? I don't think you'd be even watching a message like this if you weren't into your growth and your development. And so those of us who are on that journey, and maybe we've been on that growth journey for a long period of time, basically we can get into what we call these little plateaus, right? And then we think, well, I go to all this effort. I'm always learning. I'm always growing. But why is it that I don't have that fire and that fuel, like the fuel that I once had, that drive that I was once accustomed to? It's now disappeared. So what am I doing wrong? Well, I'm here to tell you, you ain't doing anything wrong. And the perspective I want to share with you today is actually that lack of fire and drive that you've kind of plateaued into might actually be alerting you to how much growth you've actually had. And let me tell you why. So I've spoken a few times with you guys about shadow work, right? So shadow work is basically when we reintegrate parts of ourselves that we have disowned or denied or repressed along the journey of life, right? Every single human being, I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you're doing with your life, we have all got a degree of shadow material that is the remnants of us denying, repressing, and disowning different elements of who we are, different characteristics of being a human being. And so basically we can split this into two. So most shadow work is done in the negative, right? The negative parts of ourselves we want to disown, right? We deem, we can't be our whole humanness. We identify specific things that we want to align with and want the rest of the world to see us as. And then there's other elements that we completely disown and deny and repress way into the subconscious or the unconscious. And basically that is how we get hooked and triggered in things by people and by different situations and circumstances in our external world, right? And then on the flip side of that, we can have shadows that are in the positive. So these are the more virtuous parts of ourselves, right? So those parts of ourselves or those characteristics of being a human that you don't see within yourself, right? You see within others, right? And this leads to worshipping other people, infatuation in relationships. We just can't get enough of that other person because that person is representing parts of ourselves that we have denied, disowned, and repressed. And so when we see it in somebody else, it's very attractive, right? We put that person on a pedestal. Just the same as the parts of ourselves that we have disowned, so-called negative traits, when we see those traits in another person, what we do, we put them in the pit, right? We're above them, and the person that owns those traits that we've suppressed that are more virtuous, we put them on the pedestal and ourselves in the pit, right? And so basically, why am I telling you about shadow work when we're talking about losing your fire and looking at it in a more empowered way? Here's how it comes into play. A lot of us can get this experience of going through our growth journey. We're doing a lot of, owning our shadows, right? Owning the disowned parts of ourselves, waking up to parts of ourselves that it's been uncomfortable for us to own and validate and see and understand and work through. And, we're doing all this growth work. We're putting all this energy into becoming the best versions of ourselves that we can be. And then we just find we've lost all our drive and motivation and fire. Why is that? That is because that represents your integration of the negative aspects of your shadow or the positive aspects of your shadow. What does that mean? Basically, what happens is, say you've been somebody who's had a lot of fire, a lot of drive, right, to achieve in your life, say. And basically, as you've had all this drive and motivation, and maybe you've made a lot of money, maybe you've done a lot of great, successful things, and then you start going on these growth journeys, right? You start integrating more of your shadow, owning more of who you are. And then suddenly you don't have that fire anymore. You don't have that fuel anymore. What's that about? Well, basically what's happened is we've got now an awareness that your drive, your fire, your fuel has come from the shadows, right? Has come from the pain of your past. Maybe you had a parent who told you could never do it, right? And that gave you that drive, right? And you despised that parent, say, for example. And then basically you go through your growth journey to this place where you get to understand that parent at a whole new level, right? And you get to see how those exact same qualities within that person, that parent that you once just had so much anger towards, right? Or aggression towards, or I'm going to prove them wrong towards, right? You've now gone through this growth journey where you're like, whoa, I can now understand what was driving their behavior, what their intentions were, what their struggles were. And because I'm able to see myself in them, I've now integrated that part of my shadow. And what happens is you lose the fire if that's been your fuel source, right? Now, the same exact thing, listen to this one, right? This one is powerful, so powerful. If you have been, so that's the negative one, right? Now let's look at the positive fuel you've been having, right? Now this depicts most romantic relationships, because what happens is we have these disowned parts. We don't feel 100% amazing within ourselves. And so this amazing human being comes into our lives and we're like, oh my God, they're all those things that I admire, right? And so we become infatuated with them. We've got a ton of attraction to the point where we're actually feeling addicted to this person, right? And then basically, this is the recipe of getting to be roommates, right? Like most relationships have attraction, massive attraction at the beginning, and then it's just on the downward. Why is that? And I hate how, us human beings can get caught up in, that's just the way it is, right? Like the honeymoon period doesn't last a lifetime. Like you get to enjoy that at the beginning and then it's all downhill. I call BS on that. And the reason why is because of the shadow work that we haven't done, right? We've become super attracted to this person to the point that we enter a relationship with them. We might get married, we might have kids, and now we're like, oh, now I see all the other side of this person, and they're not as shiny as I once thought, or whatever. And basically what this is the exact same as the person who was driven and fueled for success because of their hatred towards their parent, right? And then they go the growth work, and then they're like, oh, I can understand their perspective now, and now I've lost that fuel. Well, the same thing happens in terms of the other side of not owning the positive aspects or the more virtuous aspects of ourselves and projecting that onto a so-called partner. This is an example. It could be some other guru that you worship or whatever it is, but let's just take intimate relationship because I feel it's super powerful for everybody. And basically we integrate, or we can become, more whole within ourselves because we've now owned those positive qualities within ourselves, or we don't, but then we see the negative, and then that kills attraction and everything as well. But basically we lose our fire and fuel in that dynamic, right? And you can even look at how we project our shadow onto substances and get into drug addiction and so forth, which will be for another time and topic. But I wanted to keep it particular for today on this losing your fire. And what I want for you to take away from this message, my hope is that the next time, or maybe you're there right now, that you feel that sense of, I've lost the fire, I've lost the drive, right? I've lost my fuel source, I've lost the energy, I'm not motivated, I'm not inspired, and you've been on a growth path. I want you to actually look at it as it could be a reflection as to amazing growth that you've had. And I want to tell you the way out of this as well, because it's not just like we want to lose all our fire and pat on the back, you lost all your fire because you've done all this growth work. Now what, right? What we want to do is we want to see that as, okay, it's validation that I have integrated a shadow that I was previously using as fuel, right? Driven by anger or hatred or jealousy or gotta be number one or competition or all of those negative there's a lot of energy, right? Underneath those. But basically we needed to have those qualities disowned within ourselves so that we could have that drive. But why is it that we're never fulfilled by that? We get the success, it's still not enough. Now we need to get into this other thing, and it's this more aggressive energy, and it's, we're never really fulfilled. It's always short-term gratification, right? And so what we want to look at this is, okay, I lost my fuel. Could it be that I've integrated the shadows that were previously fueling me? Okay, yes, I can identify that. I had all this hatred towards my mom or my dad or, this teacher or whatever it is, right? Or society, and I was rebelling against it. And now I've integrated those aspects in myself, and now I don't have that fire, right? I'm no longer fueled by the pain of my past. Now you're in a beautiful position. You're in the best position possible for sustained fulfillment. Rather than momentary and fleeting highs and lows, now you're going to have that sustainable fulfillment. Now you can look at, I want to use a metaphor of going on a ketogenic diet, right? So basically the premise for that is that why you go on a ketogenic diet, which is basically high protein, high fat, low carbohydrates, particularly starchy carbohydrates. You still have loads of vegetables, but basically why you even do that is so that you can train your body to stop burning carbohydrates as fuel, right? Which is a stop, start, and actually convert it to burning fat for fuel, which is sustainable, right? It's centered, it's calm, there's no spikes going on. You're sustained for longer amounts of time. You have all this freed up energy to focus on things that actually are different to finding food, right? All these different things. So basically, I want to use that as the analogy of what's going on for you. When you lose the fire, you're no longer fueled by the carbohydrates, by the negative shadows. That's a reflection on, hey, Like, you're now burning fat for fuel, right? Which is sustainable fulfillment when you've integrated your shadows and you're no longer reliant on triggers and hooks in your external world, because you're owning those things within yourself. So you are becoming a self-directed, conscious human being who's shining light on all the unconscious traits and characteristics that you'd previously denied or repressed or disowned. And now you become a more capable, more empowered human being who relies on sustainable fulfillment rather than momentary up and downs trying to prove somebody from the past wrong, or trying to run away from pain and run away from the shadows that you haven't yet integrated. So my hope is that this has supported you. For those of you who've just joined at the end, please do go back and rewatch this. It's such a powerful perspective to have, particularly for you guys like myself who do a lot of growth work, and then you can feel a little disheartened if you fall into a bit of a plateau. My hope is that what I've shared with you today gives you a whole new perspective and a big reinforcement that you're converting what you want to convert for your fuel moving forward to make it sustainable, fulfillment, and not just get caught up on, oh, I've lost my fire, right? So that is my message for you guys. I definitely want to check in and see who's been able to join me today. So drop me a comment. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. If you've got any questions or comments or words of wisdom that you'd love to contribute to the conversation, I'd love to check in with you now, or just say hi, like I said. So let me check in. Oh, and I want to say that for any of you guys who aren't a part of the Limitless Potential Academy, the monthly masterclasses, and you're in a position right now where you want to take your growth to a whole new level, I definitely want to invite you to come and join us in that journey. All right. So it is every single month you get an incredible masterclass from an incredible mind out there who is doing incredible work in the world in a simplified and systemized way for you to apply to your life from the seat of your home, right? And so to take your growth to the next journey. So if you would like to find out more about what that is all about, just shoot me a message or drop me a comment and I'll send you all the details, and I'll look forward to connecting with you on a deeper level. So Jose is here, and Jay Castillo, and Kyle, and hello from San Diego. Good to see you as always. And Brian's here, and Lakindu, and Tavis, and thank you for your kind words there. And Misty and Jerry and Jimmy. Hello, Jerry. Good to see you as always. And Bill's in the house. Hello to you, my friend. And Jimmy, hello to you. And Sicario and Latroya and Marlon and Rebecca and another Bill in the house. Awesome. And Judy and Tonya and Nikhil. Not sure what you're saying there. And Steve's here as well. And Ty, it's hard to get through plateau because it seems like we don't grow, but actually it grows subconsciously. Yes, absolutely. Like, even if you're not conscious of your growth, it doesn't mean it's not occurring. So a lot of the work that I do in the first stage of coaching with my one-on-one clients is we go back and we clear the past to make way for the future. And it's a lot of subconscious work. And basically with some of the processes that I take people through, that we go through a real clearing process where I'm, interacting with their subconscious. And then basically afterwards, it takes some integration, right? Like, I like working with my clients, particularly on those processes at the end of the day, right? Right before they're going to go to sleep, and they integrate these different parts of their subconscious that we've kind of tapped into. And so you've got to be just as in the action of learning and growing and doing and developing as you are at allowing the integration to take place. So yeah, so true. And if we think about it, if our mind is made up of 95% of its capacity being in the subconscious, we're not even aware of it, right? And only 5% in that conscious mind that we can, be out here and be consciously aware, we've got to realize that a lot of growth is taking place under the surface. So you're so spot on there, Ty. Good to see you as always. And Brian, good to see you. If I'm being honest with myself, there are many times when I feel lethargic and not motivated. Also, I am easily drawn to my comfort zone and can feel numb sometimes about problems I may have in my life. Brian, I hear you. So this is a little bit different. So basically, it's still connected to shadow work. Like most of our suffering in our lives is connected to disowned parts. And basically, we can look at that from a ton of different angles, right? Like if we don't have an inspiring vision, if we don't know what we mostly value, what's truly meaningful to us as an individual, if we don't have that clarity, it's hard to have direction and motivation and inspiration, right? I look towards inspiration as opposed to motivation. And there's just a little tweak of a difference there, which is inspiration is coming from the inside out, right? It's very subjective. You're connected to meaning. Nobody else outside of yourself needs to motivate you or inspire you to get up, right? Like you're doing it for yourself versus motivation. Like there's enough pain, right? Or there's enough pleasure, right? There's enough of a payoff from some external source that maybe I'll get into action, but then, then that's gone and it's dissipated. Now you got to wait again to get motivated, right? So we always want to opt for inspiration, and inspiration can only be tapped into when we get clarity over our values and vision. Now, I have an amazing 8-week empowerment course, really goes for 10 weeks, I'm not going to lie. But basically, this is what this whole system is about. I've just had some new amazing clients go through this or enter into this program. So now would actually be a really great time for any of you who are not clear on your vision, not clear on your values. Maybe you don't know how to discern in your relationships. You don't know how to create boundaries. You don't know how to focus and concentrate, tap into your intuition, really get a move on in your life. This is the course for you, right? And basically you can apply it to any and every area of your life. So for those of you who are interested in having something like a step-by-step system to get out of a rut, to get out of the comfort zone, and to actually do something really uniquely important and valuable and meaningful to you and discover what that is, then I'd invite you to reach out to me, shoot me a message, let me know that you're interested in the empowerment program, and we can discuss those options with you. So love that. I love your honesty, Brian. I'm sure a ton of us can relate. I definitely can. And Dennis is here as well. Keep growing, learning, drive and desire. Don't forget to live, grow, make mistakes, and most importantly, love. I love that. So well put, Dennis. Always great to see you. And Brian, absolutely. Always a work in progress. I don't think none of us are ever going to totally make it. It's a constant spiraling up process. And I'm enlivened by that. I love growing. I love waking up to a new truth about myself, how I might have been deceiving myself. That to me is freedom, and freedom is everything, right? So love that. And Rudy's here as well, and Debbie and Melanie and Wilden from Peru. Awesome to have you here. And Paul's here as well, and Anthony and Singay and Clyde and Mahendra and Rochelle and Katerina and Joshua. And hello, Joshua from Bakersfield. Is that California? I think. I don't know. But I love that. And you're so welcome. Grateful that there was some value here for you. And Mark is here as well from Los Angeles. Awesome. And Moyne and Brad and Ron and AJ and Takia. And lovely to see you as always, Moyne. And AJ, hello to you. And Rith is from Laos. Awesome. Wow. Cool. And Bill, much success with your new program. Thank you so much, Bill. I so appreciate you and your support as always. And Brent's here as well. And Vanessa, yay, just catching the end of this. I will watch the replay. Awesome. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. Beautiful, Vanessa. Always good to see you. And Sandra is here as well. So hope this message has really served and supported each and every one of you guys. Don't be disheartened by a plateau. Don't be disheartened by losing your fire. It could very well be that you've entered into a plateau simply because it's a new level of growth and you've integrated the shadow aspects that once you were reliant on for your source of fuel. All right, so that could be very well the thing for you. And if you're not clear on who you are and what you want and having the courage to go after it, you definitely need to come into the empowerment program. You can do that with me. There's definitely other sources and different ways that you could be really getting that clarity over who you are, what you want, and having the courage to go after it. I've just created a step-by-step system that I know is amazing, and I've had a bunch of people go through it. Everybody, 100% of the people who've gone through that course graduated from it, which is actually unheard of in online programs. Most online programs, a really good one, have 20% of people actually finish it, right? So 100%. Every single person who's come through that course all finished it. You can hear their testimonials if you guys want to check out what other people are saying as well. So I'd love to have you a part of that if you feel called to. You can reach out to me. And hello to you, Ram and Yomna and Jerry and Bill. Shine on as usual. And same to you, my friend. So that's my message. As usual, my reminder to you is to go out there and live authentically, love deeply, and contribute meaningfully and purposefully. And if this message was of value to you, I'd love if you could share it with any of your loved ones, publicly or privately, however that rolls for you. And Ram, appreciate your consistency in inspiring many. Oh, I so appreciate your kind words there, Ram. You are so appreciated. I appreciate you consistently showing up and joining these messages. All right, so much love for each and every one of you guys, and I cannot wait to see you very, very soon. Much love.